Hi everyone, Gamers Khan here with a quick video about the new DLC for Chaos Gate Duty Eternal. As you can see, I haven't gotten really far into the game. I'm only at day 88, and that is because I was forced to restart my game even before I hit day 100. And that is because I found myself struggling a lot in the early game. Why am I struggling a lot in the early game? It's because of two major nerfs that they did not talk about in that live stream. Yeah. So the first one is this shebang-a-lang-a-lang. Look at that shit. And -5 for lightly wounded and -10 for wounded state. So for those of y'all don't know, in the previous version of this game, if your guys got wounded in battle or took damage, they got either lightly wounded or wounded. In the older versions, on legendary difficulty, even on legendary difficulty, lightly wounded was -3 and wounded was -6. Going from -3 to 5 and 6 to 10 is a massive jump. Look at this. This is what's causing the early game to be such a pain right now. My interceptor only has 14 health, and -10 he's running around with 4. That's a fucking death sentence right there. If he gets touched, he dies. This combined with the fact that Plague Marines show up under day 80, like they start showing up at 60, and they hit hard. Like at close range, they can do 4 damage with their bolters. So this guy is one shot away from this guy's basically can get one shotted by Plague Marines, or even the heavy stubber guys, or any of the melee classes like the Poxwalker. Yeah, they hit hard, and yeah, it's been causing a problem. This change right here changes the whole dynamic of the early game. In fact, this kind of makes my ship and resources guide that I did, which is one of my most popular guides, kind of obsolete. Because now you cannot run one squad all the way to the craft roll mission. Before, you could just have one squad, just focus on them, get them all the XP, get them all the gear, all the way up till you trigger the craft roll mission. And after that, you start making your second squad, which is, But now, you need to have backup characters, backup knights, or at least an entire backup squad to replace these guys, because in the early game, -10 is brutal. I don't have, like, I was playing this like how I played my old campaigns, and I don't have a replacement for this guy. All the other guys are just okay, I guess. And plus, like, I haven't fought enough missions to even get a single level onto them. And so now, all of a sudden, speed is no longer the only thing you need to focus on. I've been doing that, but now I realize, dude, I gotta get into the meditation chamber earlier. So what I'm thinking it now, if for those of y'all playing, still focus on speed, but just don't focus on the prognostic art at all. Get speed up to level 2, and then just bum rush meditation chamber, because you need to level up these guys. Early game tier 1 weapons are basically useless. Most of them have no damage bonuses. They have slight like bonuses, but they don't come in handy. Crit chance on them is really low. Crit chance in the early game is low because you don't have your skill points and all the skills that unlock crit chance. So yeah, it's impossible to use like tier 1 weapons, and tier 2 takes a little bit to get to. Like, I'm at day 88. I still haven't unlocked the tier 2 weapons yet, and I've already have like one dude who's injured. Last time I had like 2, like my interceptor died, and I had 2 injured, and I was like, why am I taking so much damage? It's like, oh, my interceptor's walking around with just 3 hit points. Like, that's how he starts the fight with. Yeah, and so now, having a full squad, so on these missions, unlocking the recruitment slot becomes a lot more important because you can get a level 3 and then just because now you can retrain a lot easier. All you need to do retrain is just click on this button. So you can get a level 3 early from the mission rewards and use them. I think now it made that part a lot more useful. In fact, like now in the armory, I would actually like level up the night requisition a lot more because it now only costs 2 requisition points to respec a guy in 30 days. So that's not too bad. So if I can get so if I can get the night requisition thing up to like level 3 or 4, I start getting level 5 and 6 characters. And I just like spend 2 requisition on them to just respec them. And now all of a sudden, this thing, which in my previous guide, I just told you to just leave at level 1. Now this night requisition option is viable option now. Because you need to fill up your barracks on legendary really fast. On lower difficulty, you start with 8, so it's not as big of a problem. But on legendary, you start with 6. And some of these chumps have really bad skills. This new one is, gain 1 more servitor. On a purgator, this is useless. You know? So, yeah, it just completely changed the dynamic. I'll have to redo my guides. A lot of my guides now. Especially for the early game strategy. Because, like, heck, I don't even have an early game strategy. I'm figuring it out. Definitely gonna call in sick tomorrow. So I can just work on this. Yeah, don't tell my boss. Anyway, that's problem number 1. That's just made like the difficulty spike on legendary difficulty just shoot to the stratosphere. The other one, oh, and I would just want to mention, I do like this change. This makes like the early game very dynamic because y'all watch both of my challenge runs, and I could tell from y'all's comments that y'all were getting bored because I was just using one squad over and over and over and over and over again. Now this forces me to diversify my squads and my builds from day 1, you know? So it creates a much more dynamic playthrough. And I like that. I like when games gives you range of options or like forces you to think outside the box or come up with brand new strategies. The other change I do not like. And that's because it does the opposite of giving you options. It takes away options. And that change is to provoke. It looks the same, it acts the same, except one thing. Notice the range. It went from 10 to 0. Yes, provoke now only works like guard from the paladin. It just hits everything around the knight. This I do not like, because this takes away a lot, especially from the Justicar. Like, before, you could go, like, the Justicar, Honor the Chapter is the OG ability in the Justicar's skills, kit. But before, you could, like, kind of go with Provoke. Provoke was actually kind of better early on, because Honor the Chapter still relied on whoever your main damage character was to be very skilled, to have high skill level and equipment to be effective, to be 100% effective. It was still very powerful, but its full potential was unlocked as your main damage dealer became stronger. Provoke, so it would take a while to unlock the full potential of this thing. Provoke provided you with a very powerful CC early on in the game, and on Legendary, this thing was a lifesaver in a lot of situations. You could just provoke people away from those freaking bloom spawns, so you don't have to worry about getting bombarded by them. The other thing was, with the Justicar, before you could spend one action point to move, one action point to provoke from a distance, and then one action point to activate your Aegis shield. So once they're provoked, and because he had to move towards the enemy, he was kind of exposed, and so he was exposed to fire. So the shield would protect him, and in case early game you don't have a high parry chance, so you would take hits, and so the shield would prevent him from taking damage. Now you have to spend 2 action points just to get close enough to use provoke, and there's still no guarantee that you'll be able to get close enough to provoke everybody you want to provoke. And yeah, and you have no Aegis shield, meaning you're stuck with the default Terminator 2 shield. So you'll get your teeth kicked in. Your Justicar gets their teeth kicked in. Basically, this change killed the Justicar's tanking ability. Justicars are no longer tanks. This thing is basically used as a way to stop enemy melee units from reaching your range units or your lighter units. It's basically a root now, in a way. Like some sort of root or sort of stopping ability. Like, yeah, it's not the provoke that you could like grab a whole bunch of people and just get them to attack the Justicar, and then you use the sword to parry stuff. God damn it, man. This just made so many swords useless. Like, halberds required this, basically required this thing to be used. First Strike required this. Overwatch required provoke, worked really well with provoke. That's gone. You can no longer have Overwatch traps, and because of that, that means my Phalanx and Master Blaster builds, they're useless now, because you can't like draw people into the Overwatch fire or into the Phalanx, or, you know, I call it the Phalanx, but it's like 2 paladins both in guard mode, so as enemy come in, they just charge them and bonk them out of the way. It's really fun, and it's a very chunky team, so even if somebody shoots at them, they just like, I'm a paladin, I don't get hurt. So it's a fun build, but it also relied on provoke to lure enemy into melee range, and now that's gone, you know. So now only thing the Justicar can be, instead of just being like a tank and then a support class, is just be, yeah, I don't know what you do, because now in order to do this, you might have to get Crushing Charge to help you reposition, and with just 1 action point, and then use provoke. But that's like a total of 4 willpower that you're spending just to provoke people, instead of the usual 2. And on top of that, if you're going for Crushing Charge, you have to go through on a chapter, and willpower, based on willpower alone, you know, Honor the Chapter, if you compare Crushing Charge to Honor the Chapter, based on willpower alone, Crushing Charge is a waste of willpower when compared to Honor the Chapter. It's just this. It's like, Honor the Chapter is so much more useful. Like, if they had changed this around with this change, and like put like how I requested, like Crushing Charge be placed here and then Honor the Chapter be moved here, so you need Crushing Charge to get Honor the Chapter, then this might have made sense. A little bit more sense, because you can easily get this and then just charge into the middle of the enemy and then provoke everybody. That would have been cool as hell. But no. So now all our Justicars are going to be, as like, the only thing they can be is just giant action point vending machines. They're gone back to being just giant action point vending machines. Hell, the provoke even allowed this ability to work. Rend the Unclean. This is my favorite ability. It does no friendly fire damage. It's a massive AoE, and you can kill so many people. But since you can't provoke them, you can't grab everybody to surround the Justicar anymore and use this to kill like 12. It was so much fun to do. And now that's gone too. Basically, the Justicar can't tank. The only person who can tank now is, I think, the Chaplain, because even if you spend 2 action points to move into the enemy, you don't need to spend an action point on Aegis shield, because the Chaplain, by default, has a lot of shields. So they could probably still use it. But man, I didn't like this change. I would have liked it if these two were moved around. I really thought they would nerf Honor the Chapter, not Provoke. And Provoke is such a lifesaver early game, especially when you start learning into Bloom Spawn missions, or when you, like, early on, even the reinforcements are so overwhelming early on because you don't have any skill points, you don't have any gear, you can't kill all of them fast enough. So provoking a whole bunch and just getting them to, like, chase the Justicar, and you just, like, pop this overcharged warp charge Aegis shield, and you'll have 10 armor, and you'll just tank everything for a while, and that could save your life so many times, and I just no longer have the access to that. I was successfully able to use Provoke twice in the last two campaigns attempts, so that's a total of 160 days that I've played. Like, the first campaign, just, like, it just wasn't working, so I restarted, tried again, and just, like, yeah, the early game in this game just got super hard because of these two changes. Because now you lost your main CC, which was a big lifesaver in the early game, and it's just like, it just killed the Justicar, man. The only thing you can do is now make him an AP vending machine, and that's all he's ever gonna be. Before, like, I could go with just Provoke and then just go this tree and not even touch on the chapter, and the Justicar would still be useful. Now he's just, yeah, this is the only reason to take the Justicar. Nothing else. Everything else is cool, but it's not efficient, and it'll just make your life a lot harder on legendary difficulty. Maybe Fortress, but it can kind of get stupid. I know Z mentioned that with this, he was able to get his interceptor to have like 20 armor, which can be fun, but it's like, the reason I don't like it is the same reason I don't like this change to Provoke. Is like, you need 2 actions to use it. 1 action to activate the Aegis shield, and then 1 action to transfer it over. And yeah, you need 2 action points to do 1 action, basically, with this. And that's why I don't like it. So yeah, this means my early game comps needs to change a lot. I think Rambo early game comp still works. Supporting Fire still works. I think Supporting Fire is now the main early game comp to go for. So now for early game, that means the 8 recruits that you're going to need in the early game are going to be... let's see. So 2 Justicars, an Apothecary, and an Interceptor for the Rambo build. And then you get up... You keep one of the Purgators, get rid of the other one, and then get 2 more Interceptors, so you have both the Supporting Fire Bulletstorm build, and also the Rambo build, like, going simultaneously. So if you go into my build section, I have a playlist. You'll see Bulletstorm and Rambo. Those 2 builds for starting builds are the 2 things you should focus on. They should still work. Supporting Fire still works. I am waiting for the Tech Marine, because I feel like the Tech Marine is going to be an amazing 4th character for the Supporting Fire build, and I'm going to come up with a new Supporting Fire build. I keep calling it Supporting Fire. It's just Support Fire, but Support Fire feels wrong to say, so I'm going to keep saying Supporting Fire. And yeah, and for those of y'all don't know, Tech Marine servitors with the Melta have automatic Supporting Fire built into them. At max level, they do 3 damage per Supporting Fire shot. That, and the Tech Marine can bring 3 servitors. So that's a Tech Marine with 3 servitors at 3 damage each from Supporting Fire. So that's 9 damage just coming from the Tech Priest for Supporting Fire. Then you add in 2 Interceptors who also have Supporting Fire, and they do 5 damage apiece. You see how much damage that is. That is 19 damage a turn. Free extra damage that costs no AP, does not scale from range, does not scale from cover, and always hits. It's just insane. That's one build that I'm planning on doing, and I'm going to do that guide build once I'm done figuring out everything in this game. But yeah, these were the two changes I just wanted to talk about for now. Um, and yeah, after that, after I'm done like playing through the game on my own, I'll come up with a new guide with the new strategy on how to play the early game and what's mid game. I don't think so change that much. Once you have a couple of good items, uh, the dreadnought. I saw the stream. I don't think so. You even need the dreadnought. The dreadnought is straight up overkill. I don't think so. You'll need the dreadnought, especially if you're running the Wintern Purifier or the Rambo builds. You're not gonna even need the dreadnought to finish some of those missions. So I don't think so. The mid game or the late game changed that much, but the early game definitely went up a few notches. So my new guide's gonna be focused on how to survive the early game and also how to use the dreadnought and tech marine and just other shebangs. And oh, the frigate! Oh, that's gonna be fun. So the frigate. So basically, we might have to make a barrack early on too, because we're gonna need more than like just 8 marines, like 12 knights early on, so you can send them out to frigate, let some heal. Because minus 10 health, even in the late game, is a lot. Well, you got late game max level. Your knights, even with armor, will have, other than the Justicar, most of them will have like 24, 26 health. Minus 10 like brings that down a lot, especially with how many enemy plague marines now have meltas, and meltas hurt. So yeah, 16 health is not something you want to be walking around with, especially in the late game. So yeah, that's all for now. It was supposed to be a quick guide, but I've been rambling for like 15-20 minutes. But yeah, that's all for now. I'll see y'all next time once I've played this game and I've started working on my guide. So wait for that, and yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.